Good morning, greetings, and salutations. How is everyone doing today? Are you sure? Okay, because we could be a little bit louder. Today, I'm actually going to be teaching from Daniel chapter 3. So if you guys want to start turning there. So, as some of you have known, I was actually in the military. And I got to travel to a little country called Bosnia back in 1997. And when you get to travel to a country that's been war-torn based on religion, you actually get to hear some stories of faith, some stories that open your eyes to be grateful for where we are right now. One of those stories that I got to teach you about was the police force, the government, the military that was in this country. They went into an elementary school and they pulled every single kid out of their class. And what they did is they took the Bible and they threw it on the ground. And they told the kids that they had to walk by this Bible and spit on it. And as they did, they went from the oldest to the youngest. And they started with the fifth graders, and they went through. And they spit on the Bible. It went that way down from fifth, fourth, third, second, first. And then it got down to the kindergarten class. And this little 5-year-old girl, she knelt down beside the Bible. She wiped off the spit that was on that Bible. She picked it up to her face. She picked it up and she kissed it in front of these soldiers, 5 years old, and they shot her as she kissed the Bible, knowing full well that this could happen. Has the faith and the strength to do that. Whenever I was over there, I got to go by the school that this happened at. Now, originally, they actually showed a handprint of this girl. Because when they shot her, she didn't die instantly. She stammered back, still clutching that Bible, and put her handprint on that wall. But the school still stands there. But they removed that handprint. They actually took the brick out of the wall. So it's not even washed off. They removed it. We live in a country today where we are free. We are free to preach. We are free to teach. We are free to read the Word of God. It is not that way everywhere. I got told of another family. Now, this family was drug out of their house because the government could go into their house. And they told the dad, it was him, his wife, and his 4 children. And they said, you will denounce Christ or we will start shooting your children. And this man opened up his mouth to say something, and his wife reached over there and put her hand over his mouth. And she said, honey, we are ready to go. They killed all 6 of those people that day. Here's my question to you. Do you have that kind of faith? If you woke up this morning and you found it was illegal to be a Christian, would you still have come this morning? Well, in Daniel 3, we hear the story of 3 young men that stood for their faith. And we're going to read a little bit, and then I'm going to talk a little bit, and we're going to read a little bit more as we go through Daniel chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold, whose height was 80 cubits, and its breadth 6 cubits. And he set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, set all together the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and the rulers of the province to come dedicate the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Now, I had to look up about how much a cubit was. It's about 18 inches. And then I had to understand what 80 means. 80 means 60 in ancient tongue. So this was 60 cubits or 90 feet tall. Now, I asked Tony about how high this was, from floor to ceiling. He said this is between 40 and 50 feet. So this statue stood almost double the height of this sanctuary. And it was about 9 feet wide. And he set it up in a place called Babylon. And if we know the story of Babylon, that's where all languages were birthed, because they believed that they could build a tower tall enough to reach God. Then the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the province were gathered together to dedicate this image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And he stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And the herald cried out, "To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at which time you hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcian, and all kinds of music, you fall down and you worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. For which falls not down and worships shall the same hour be cast in the midst of the burning furnace." Right there is a death order. You will fall down or you will die. Therefore, at the time which the people heard the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and the other kinds of music, all the people of the nations and languages fell down to worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Therefore, at the time, a certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. The Chaldeans were another set of rulers in this land that actually hated the Jews. They spoke to King Nebuchadnezzar the king. "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made decree to every man that shall hear the sound of all these instruments." And if you don't know, sackbut is actually the trombone, and a psaltery is a stringed instrument. "All kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoever falls not down to worship that which will be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." Now, if you know about this, because Daniel interpreted a dream, and these were his ride or die friends. Okay, these were the people that he went on their knees to pray together. And so when Daniel was given the providence, he said, "No, give it to my brothers over here. I'm going to stay with the king." These men, O king, have not regarded you. They serve not your gods, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that they would be brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do you not serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready, that what time you hear the sound of these instruments and all kinds of music, you fall down and worship the image which I have made well. But if you do worship not, you shall be cast into that same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Now, this is a threat from an earthly king. This is the government. This is a people that do not worship our God. And then, this is the response. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer you in this manner. If it is so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from your burning furnace. He will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image which you have set up. Now, I'm sure most of you have burned your hand or your finger or even your ear curling your hair. It is not a pleasant feeling, fire. And being set up for this, any trial or tribulation that we go through is a fire. Anytime we are tried, we are put through the fire because we are God's people and we are forged in fire. So they answered him boldly. They said, our God will deliver us one way, either through life or through death. Then it was Nebuchadnezzar, full of fury, and formed his vengeance, was charged against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spoke and commanded that they should heat the furnace seven times more than it was inclined to be heated. And he commanded his most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the fiery furnace. Now, I looked up what this furnace was set at. Okay? This furnace could burn at between 1,600 and 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you convert that to Celsius, it's about 1,260 degrees Celsius. And if you know anything about heat, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So I wanted to know how this compared to a furnace that they use for cremation. A furnace for cremation sets between 1,400 and 1,800 degrees. So if they set this up to the highest level, which was 2,300 degrees, well, then, yeah, pretty much nothing could survive. I mean, microbial, nothing. So Then these men were bound in their coats and their hosen, which is their trousers, and their hats and other garments, and they were cast into the midst of the fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king commanded was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flames of the fire slew through the men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these men, the three, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, burned into the midst, and burning fiery furnace. Okay, that means that the guys that tied Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego up, bound them hand and foot in all of their clothes, and yeeted them into the fire, died outside the furnace and burnt up almost instantly. Okay? They weren't in the furnace. They were back here, and they yeeted them. They threw them into the furnace, and they died. Okay? Now, the king was further back, and the people, the Chaldeans, and everybody else was further back. So, what happens next? Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spoke, and said to his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? And they answered and said to them, True, O king. And he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And from this fourth, the fourth is like a son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning furnace, and spoke and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, your servants of the Most High God, come forth and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth from the midst of the fire. And the princes and the governors and the captains and the kings and the counselors and gathered together and saw these men. Upon their bodies the fire had no power. There was not a hair on their head singed, neither were their coats charred, nor the smell of fire on them. Isn't it so great? This passage here lets us know several things. One is you don't have to be perfect. When you're going through the fire, or whether you're in the fire, God is already there with you. God doesn't let you walk through the fire alone. God doesn't allow anything He doesn't allow to happen to you. And 2, God took it upon Himself, the pain and the agony which we deserve. He is God. He is the mighty one. And when we walk through the fire, if we stand up for God, He will wrap us in His love. Then Nebuchadnezzar spoke. He said, Blessed be God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent His angels to deliver His servants and trusted in Him, and have charged the king's word, and changed the king's word, yielded their bodies, and they have not served nor worshipped any god except for their own God. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything against their gods, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, shall be cut into pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver all sorts. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the province of Babylon. So, when we, as God's chosen people, stand up and we show the world that we can walk through the fire, that we can take on the world at its worst, God will see us through in the best. And it can change mountains. It can change people. When we, His people, stand up and say, yes, I serve God. When we, His people, get down on our knees and we say we will worship only God and we pray to God, but we worship nothing else, we stand against the entire world. When this happens, God will see us through to the end. And it states in the Bible, do not fear those who could take your life, but those that can kill your soul. There is no government in this world that can take your soul. They cannot take your salvation. And there is no reason to fear any single one of those entities out there. And believe me, they're out there. In China, it's still illegal to worship God. It's a 3-year prison sentence. If they find missionaries, they send them back. But everybody in their congregation gets 3 years. They find that a badge of honor. A badge of honor. I was in prison. Again, if it was illegal to come to church, if it was illegal to serve God, would you still be here? Would you risk being in this sanctuary and the cops coming in that door and putting a gun to our head and eliminating us here on this earth? Because I tell you, in California, during COVID, they had preachers arrested for having church. It was illegal to have church, to congregate. The thing is, they only did it to Christians. The Muslims were allowed to meet. The Buddhists were allowed to meet. The only people that they came in and arrested was Christian preachers. The funny thing is they had already talked. The Christian preacher got arrested. A deacon went up. As they were leading the pastor off, a deacon came up. Preacher had his notes. He goes, okay, this is where the preacher's notes. They had to arrest several people that day because why? It was illegal. And we think it can't happen in the United States. It can. It is. I don't know if you guys know, in New York, they just elected a Muslim leader. The governor of New York, or the mayor of New York City, is Muslim. He is vowed to complete the mosque at Ground Zero. Now, those of you that don't understand, I've had a class on world religions. When a Muslim community conquers an area, they make a mosque there. This mayor is declaring on 9/11, they won. They conquered. And that is his decree. It is happening in this country now. Are you willing to stand up? Are you willing to keep the faith? Through the fiery furnace, through fear of death, arrest, and our kids. Because we are going through the fire right now. Every one of us. Now, like I said, as Christians, we don't have to go it alone. And if you aren't a Christian, Jesus will meet you right where you are. There is no place that he will not go to get you. Jesus is the good shepherd. He will leave the 99 to go find the one, because he leaves another in charge, our pastors. He leaves someone in charge of the 99. He will go find the one to bring it back. He will take care of us no matter what or where we are. He just asks us to accept him and obey him.
All right, we're going to do the invitation on page 305. Yes. Thank you for today and for giving us everything that you have given us, Lord. We pray that you be with the congregation that is not here, whether they are sick or if they are in the process of healing and recovery or traveling, Lord. We just ask that you are with us through this week as we go, and we thank you for David and for the message that he brought us today. Amen. women have song practice as of right now?